Hola, soy Mónica Conesa y estás mirando Eclectic Arts Media.
Apparently, I do darkness and death really well, so I don't tell happy stories yet.
When I did the vocals for the chorus of the Phantom of the Opera.
Hello!
Hi, Chloe. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm doing really good.
A lot of times, if you're like in the pit as a 4'10" person, that is not fun. Okay.
Someone was just leaving the bar with a beer, and then there was this opening, and I just found myself climbing onto the bar.
Can you let us do that? Absolutely not.
And that's really exciting as well because, it feels a little bit more like home when you're on tour and stuff.
I mean, even the thought of it seemed insane, but I thought, yeah, maybe let's give it a go.
I wanted to look exactly like they looked on the cover with their big permed hair and their chokers and they were so badass and so cool.
I like to make cosplay and play games and watch cool shows and stuff.
It weighs probably twice as much as I do.
And the moment I stepped into the ring, I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
24 years I've been wearing school girl uniform.
I'll pay money for this song. This is a great, I want this song.
Bend over without pulling something. I'm not there yet, but I'm just saying.
And you're watching Eclectic Arts Media.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I am Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts Media based here in Seattle, Washington. And thank you so much for joining me on this Monday, the 29th of July, 2024. And just a few housekeeping things to get to before we get to today's interview. First, I'd like to thank Nikki Dial for joining me this past Friday, just a few days ago. It was a pleasure getting to know Nikki, and she was very, very clear to me that once we were done that she appreciated how things went and that she's very much looking forward to coming back. So once I know that's actually confirmed and moving forward, then I will let everybody know. And I'd also like to mention that coming up for my next live stream, I don't have the exact date, but it will be in August. I just got confirmation from my guest today. I've been wanting to do a series with a guest for at least a year or so. And this particular guest is up for the challenge. So we don't know if it's going to be once a month or twice a month or once a week exactly, but she's been great. She's come on a couple of different times without it being part of the series idea. And so once I know exactly what that's going to be and what the format's going to look like, then I'll be sure to talk about that. And I tend to post everything first on my Instagram, which is Eclectic Arts Media, one word. So if you'd like to know all the details, you can always follow me over there. And then some of that information does migrate over to other social media platforms. If this is your first time joining me on my YouTube channel, if you could do me a huge favor, please hit the subscribe button. I mentioned this on Friday that my analytics were showing that a lot of people, that the hours are way up for people watching the content, but people aren't subscribing to the channel. So if you could do that, and if you really want to know what's coming up, you can also hit that notification bell. But the subscriber part definitely helps me out. And also, if you're on the Twitch side of things, if you could follow me over there, that's where I started all this virtual work just over 4 years ago on the Alice virtual tour. So that's where I will always maintain a presence on Twitch. And so I'm really looking forward to moving into, it's hard to believe that we're already into almost August, which is going to start on Thursday. I love doing the interviews. I mentioned on Friday that I just did an in-person interview with a gal who's going to be performing with the Seattle Opera. So local plug. Pagliacci starts this Saturday, so I'm looking forward to hearing this gal. It's actually her U.S. debut, her Seattle Opera debut, and her role debut in Pagliacci. So lots of debuts for her. She was amazing to talk to. I'm in the process of editing that interview right now. So that will be up shortly on my YouTube channel. And I'm always got a bunch of other in-person things that I'll be at, let alone other things that have nothing to do with the media outlet. So, but I'm looking forward to this interview today. It's been a while that we've been trying to get things together, and I'm so glad that our schedules managed to work. And one guest I've interviewed before, the other guest is new to me. This is the first international live stream that I'm doing this year with 2 guests. I have had individual international guests this year, but not 2 at the same time. So without further ado, I should also mention, if this is your first time joining any of my live streams, you can ask questions via the chat on YouTube or Twitch. Just put them in, and I will try to make sure that we incorporate that into our conversation. And then off we go. Today, we have 2 international guests, as I mentioned, one based in the UK and one based in South Korea. One guest is the creator of the pixel animated series X-RL7, and the other guest is the lead in the current episode, which was just recently released. In addition, both guests are longtime musicians. Please welcome to the Eclectic Arts Media virtual studio, Mike from X-RL7 and Annie from LOVExSTEREO.
Hey.
Hello.
안녕하세요.
How is everybody?
Doing fine.
Yeah, glad we could hook up this freeway time zone thing.
Yeah, no, so am I. I had flashbacks to 2021 when I had like 4 different time zones to try to make work for a live stream. And I'm like, oh, okay. But no, here we are. I appreciate that both of you have found time in your schedules, to make this thing work, because it's literally Tuesday for Annie right now. And Mike, it's gonna be Tuesday, or maybe it already is Tuesday, I think, for you.
It's been for 7 minutes, so if you want any lottery ticket numbers, let us know.
But no, it's great having you both here, and I think the best place to start, especially for people that aren't familiar with things, in particular, Mike, how did Annie get involved with LOVExSTEREO, get involved with this new episode?
Oh, sure. So the discovery of LOVExSTEREO. Well, I've got a friend in a band called Psy Avia. It's a Belgian band. And he put together not a podcast, but one of those things where you have a bunch of different songs that you just play. What do you call it? A mix? Something or other. But he had one of those, and he told me that X-RL7 was going to be on it. So I thought, yeah, I'll check it out. And LOVExSTEREO was on it. And they've got this wonderful song called Freefall, which is got these awesome synths, this lovely nostalgic vibe, and Annie's voice. I was blown away when I heard it, and I was like, this band's really cool. So I checked them out on YouTube, and I think shortly after a song called Lucid was released, which is a great song with a huge chorus with collaboration with Daisy Doom.
Yes.
Was that Annie?
Yes.
And I was like, this band's got something. And it was kind of like brewing there for a while. I was just a fan. But then I was watching a Korean drama with my wife, and it was a drama called, I think, Summer Strike or something. And I could tell you nothing about the drama now. It's totally gone from my mind. But I heard this song, and I was like, wow, there's something about this song that's like really touching me. So I looked it up afterwards and was shocked to see LOVExSTEREO again. So, just can't escape them. So the song was called I think Me the Protagonist, and it was a collaboration with LOVExSTEREO and Tearliner.
Tearliner, yeah.
The LOVExSTEREO element was you,
singing.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, that was me.
Did you write that, by the way, or was that?
Well, with Tearliner, we worked with him before, but for that particular song, he wrote he and probably a lyricist wrote the thing, and I just sang. But before we did Love Alarm K-drama series, and that one I did the lyrics as well.
Which song was that?
That was In My Dreams. Yeah.
Right. So I couldn't escape LOVExSTEREO, basically. And and something inside me was telling me, there's something here, because I listen to a range of music, but I tend to gravitate towards a lot of like more heavier sort of stuff. And there's a different connection you get from the more energetic stuff to the more sort of atmospheric, introspective, beautiful stuff as well. And I really was kind of feeling something I hadn't felt for a while. So I was like, okay, you know what, I need to do something here. And I decided I'd reach out to see if LOVExSTEREO might be interested. And I had a bit of concern at first, because I was like, they're a Korean band. Would there be some weird business thing or some problem there? But no, it works out really great. And here we are.
So Mike, that's great. The story of how you came to know LOVExSTEREO. What's the time like? How far back did you first, learn about the playlist and the mix list? How many months ago was this?
It was last year, so it was quite a while. There's a few months of it brewing slowly, and me discovering more songs, and slowly going down the rabbit hole. And something would happen to nudge me to check out more stuff. It was really cool, and it was a few months. And even this episode, when Annie and I started speaking, I don't know when we started speaking, but I feel like it was quite early in the year, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Not too early, but slightly early. Yeah.
Okay, we were in the year. We'd got in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd been a few months. It had been a few months brewing. And I was just like, you know what, got to do it.
By the way, this is the first time I've heard this, so that's pretty cool.
Well, it's also it's almost like, Mike, that you're talking about. It's like almost like the universe kind of telling you need to work with them because you're finding their music in different places that you weren't even looking for it. Showed up in these, these K-dramas and stuff, and you're like, all right, someone's trying to tell me something.
The thing is as well, like, because Annie's voice, I didn't recognize her voice. Like she's such a chameleon vocally in different songs. It's like, I don't know, she can do lots of different stuff. And in that particular song, I encourage everyone to check it out. Me, the Protagonist. It's a beautiful song. But yeah, it's just I didn't know it was Annie. Maybe people super familiar with Annie would know, but for me, it was like, that's LOVExSTEREO. But I'm so glad it worked out.
That's so cool.
So Annie, if we go to your side, when Mike first reached out to LOVExSTEREO about appearing in this episode, what were your thoughts and impressions? And were you like all gung ho for it, or you ask him some questions, or where were you at with that?
Well, like initially we got the email, and then he wrote such a great email, and we checked out everything, his channel X-RL7, and thought this animation series kind of hilarious, So we were like instantly into it. But like he said, like the music that came out from X-RL7 were mostly like very heavy rock, but for us, like we started as a punk rock band, so we didn't really have like we need to be in this electronic world. We don't have that. We have more like a rock band kind of. That's our gene. So like, once we saw what was going to happen, and once we heard the song, we thought it was pretty cool. So we just went right away. Yeah.
Cool. And you're telling us before we went live that you're used to doing voiceover work, so the idea of doing that wasn't daunting to you, to like maybe someone who's never done it.
Yeah, I mean, I really like doing voiceovers, but that was this was kind of like the very first time like officially did an English voiceover, because mostly I do Korean voiceovers, and that was, I felt very fun. It was really fun to do on my end, but like I have a bandmate named Toby, and it was his first time doing voiceovers ever. So like that was very interesting. He's very shy at what he did.
He did great.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, no, I thought he did great as well. I wouldn't be able to tell that it was his first time doing a voiceover in something. So kudos to him, and maybe to your coaching that you did with him.
Annie, didn't you post on Instagram recently that your mum didn't recognize you from the series?
Yeah, that's so true. Like I texted my mom like, here's my music, and also like I did the voiceovers, and like she was like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm right there. Like she was like, oh, you're so good. Like she just has such a mom text.
Chameleon.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome then. I mean, you fooled her.
But I was not acting like, I did my voice like as it is, but I think it has to do with me speaking in English, because like I don't do that with my mom. My mom, I talk in Korean, so maybe that was the reason.
I feel like you did bring something quite interesting to the character that you don't do in your normal voice, but we can talk about that later.
So Mike, as you were working on this episode, and we kind of talked about this a year ago, but for those that aren't familiar, so this, like you're just talking about, just finding out and learning about LOVExSTEREO, and then getting, talking with Annie and her bandmate, Toby, and then trying to figure out all the other things that you're going to do to get to this point where finally it gets released. It's a many months long process to get to. So was this episode kind of in the same mode of like how long it took you to do? Was it a little faster, a little longer than normal compared to your other previous episodes?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the dates now. The dates have gone out of my head, but I do recall sometimes I will reach out to an artist and I will think a little bit beforehand, and I'll have an idea, an episode, a concept to kind of pitch to them. And because I'd reached out to you guys so impulsively, I had nothing. I was like, I just wanted to work with the band, so I had no idea. And when there seemed to be an interest, then I was like, okay, what can I do? And there were a few. There was a few ideas from other little ideas I wanted to do, but I hadn't had an opportunity to do. And if you've seen the episode, there's the character Program, who's kind of a mercenary guy. He works for the main bad guy, the Duke. And last year, I was thinking of doing this side series where, because animation takes so long, I was thinking instead of a full episode, I could do like a 2-minute episode or 3-minute, just so we can see the characters and keep content going. And I thought it would be great to see Program on a mission, kind of coercing someone to do what the Duke wanted. But in the end, I didn't do that because the side series turned into this other thing, this more commentary-based thing. And I was like, it would have been nice to have done that. So I had that in my mind. And the other thing I had was also around the time there's a lot of talk of, in the music industry, venues and businesses taking advantages of artists, and something I've experienced, I'm sure Annie has experienced, although you do have a good agent. So, but there's it's
a struggle.
Yeah, it's a struggle. There's lots of people that want something for nothing, as Program says in the episode. So I really wanted to explore that, and also the idea tying into that of how a lot of people are living online these days since the pandemic, and especially lots of younger people as well. And less people are going to shows. So the venues are trying to make up for that by taking bigger merch cuts and other various little tactics here and there. So I thought it'd be really interesting to explore that in the series. So that was another idea. We already had this character, Jack Node, voiced by Ted Phelps of Imperative Reaction, who runs venues and likes to extort artists. So I thought, well, okay, maybe I could tie these things together, and the band could be the band that's playing there, and the song could tie into the online nature. So the song Bitrate Love is a big part of it is about online relationships, and the positive of that, the great things, connecting with people around the world and people you may not have knew existed otherwise, the beauty of that, but also some of the doubts and the negative side of that as well, just hinting towards that. So with these things, I was like, okay, this could work. Let's email LOVExSTEREO with that. And it seems to have worked. And how long did it take? Normally it takes 6 to 8 weeks. I've kind of lost the timeline here because that fight scene at the end was took a while. Oh, the voice. Oh, man. Program doing those voices. That's fantastic. Yeah, it took a while, but it was actually pretty smooth because Annie is a consummate professional, and I'm so used to dealing with people who take quite a while to get me stuff. And Annie was so cool about getting stuff in fast. So I could actually say to you, oh, could you just add this little bit? The assistant, could you say something? And you were able to do that quite promptly. So it was really helpful to speed up the episode. So I don't know how long, I don't know when we first started talking, but there was the song as well that needed to be done. But yeah, it was probably like a couple of months or something like that when I actually got started.
Okay, well, that sounds great that Annie was very prompt with her part to get back to you so you can move forward with it. I'm pretty much, I think I was the opposite. I apologize. I only had 3 lines.
Oh, you're okay. You're good.
You had to kind of keep pinging me like, Mark, are you working on this? Or what's going on with this thing? And I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, I am. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but you cared so much. You were trying different microphones. And like saying, oh, is this one okay? Is this one okay?
That's true. That's true. I was trying to figure out, knowing the level of quality that you're going to be doing, that I got to get something close to it. I can't just do some kind of half-ass thing. I need to make sure it's going to be up to par. But that's great. And so, Annie, when you like you mentioned, you sent the link to your mom, but like for yourself and your bandmate, when you saw the finished episode, what did you think?
Oh, I thought it was so cute. Like our selves is like pixelated forever. That's like one of my dreams because I used to play like like Nintendo back in the old days. So like and also like at that time I was trying to do Super Mario and always my brother would just yank my thing and like he would finish the thing and I would never get a chance to play. So I have that nostalgia. So like 8-bit kind of pixel art. I always love those stuff, and I thought it was pretty cool. And also, like he added the details in my hair. Like my hair was, at the edge it was pink, and like everybody was like our friends were talking about how Toby is so slim. Like I thought that was really cool. Yeah. So like to have that kind of it's like a bonus. Not only we're collaboration and doing in music, but also like video art as well. Like I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. And again, I had such a small piece of this, but as soon as I thought I was like fan number 2 or something, but I just saw it was fan walking on. I'm like, oh yeah, I got a cheesy ass grin on my face as I was watching it, and I thought it worked really well. And I've only been in the background again many years ago when I was an audio engineer, when the artists in my company decided to put all of the people on our staff in the background of certain shots. So we were like an Easter egg hunt trying to find where am I in this big party scene, and I could see myself. So I actually have a screen capture of that. That's about it when it comes to my involvement with any kind of animation, vocally or in the background or something as a character. So I thought it was really cool that the way that came out looks really top notch.
I mean, I gotta add though, like regarding the pixel art thing, like I have a group of friends that we kind of gather, like it's like my high school friends, and one of them actually works as a designer, like a cell phone designer in Samsung. And she told me that just like yesterday they were just had a meeting about how they're going to incorporate pixel art, and when I showed it to her, she was like, oh, this is what we were talking about. So I thought that was really cool. Like, even though it's like very retro and old school, even like the high-tech companies like Samsung are figuring out about like how they want to incorporate in their culture. Like I thought, and I showed it to my friend and she was like, you're very ahead. I thought, it was pretty cool,
That's awesome. Maybe there's some opportunities for Mike to do pixel art for other companies.
Get me a job.
Hopefully. Also, yeah, she knows you, just so you know.
That's cool. That's cool. That sounds like another cool little universal thing, just like this nice cosmic coincidence.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to, like, Mike, what you're talking about with the theme of this episode of some of the really cool things that have happened for people online, positive, like this right now, the 3 of us talking right now. And for me during the pandemic of meeting so many different guests that are based around the world. And here's something that you probably didn't even know, that through Annie's friend and the company she works for, this whole kind of thing is kind of making a resurgence in areas we may not have thought about, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like, because I can't imagine doing something like this in the 90s or early 2000s. Reaching out to like bands was a lot harder before social media. There's the pros and cons of social media, but certainly it's really helped me get people for the show.
Yeah, no, I was talking about this in terms of interviews, like what I do, especially like in-person ones before the internet existed. It was like, so what did these old school people do? They're literally on the phone trying to just cold call people to come do an interview or whatever, versus having social media and having just even email, just other methods to get a hold of, publishers and managers and publicists and all these other kind of things. It's been a huge boon for anyone in this industry. Let alone that you can send files to people halfway across the world because of the internet. And it's just been, definitely the plus side of how the internet can work. We know there's a non-plus side to it as well, especially social media wise. But no, in this case, it was like all strength to strength. So it's all really great stuff here. And Annie, what did Toby think of the episode when he saw it?
He thought it was funny too, and like we added Korean subtitles for our Korean fans as well. So when he watched the whole show, he thought it was hilarious, and also very embarrassed of his own voiceovers. But like I really liked what like the nits and bits about like Korean culture. Like his character's name is called Lee Ke-sek, and in Korean that's a swear word, like a very well known swear word. And it came out of our distributor agent Bernie's idea, and he was like, why don't he gave kind of a list, like what are the asshole names and we can use, and we chose that. And yeah, like I think, and also not only that, there was like light sticks, which we call 야광봉, which is like a fandom thing for the K-pop idols. And once those kind of things were incorporated, I thought it was very universal and also Korean as well. Yeah.
I think that goes to say, like, there was a bit of collaboration, like in the episode, where, because we were speaking beforehand, as Annie was saying, and those were some of the ideas that were suggested, like the light stick things that would not have been there without you guys saying it. And it's quite a almost like a running joke through the episode, because it's mentioned like quite a few times, and then at the end they run out of selling them. So
Well, that's cool. There's a textbook example of collaboration, of bringing in something from the Korean culture, especially the K-pop culture, and then, like Mike just said, he wasn't aware of it or wasn't going to put it in until you both, you guys are going back and forth about this, and that works out really well. We've had a lot of K-pop acts are coming to America. I mean, this year's been crazy of how many have been showing up here. I mean, small to large. I mean, it's just like we just had one here like a week ago, and there's like 2 more coming. So like the whole floodgate seems to be open here in America. And I had heard that getting visas to come here to tour was actually tougher now, or at least more expensive.
It depends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a friend he goes to everything. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's LA, Portland, Seattle, even though he lives here. He flies down, he takes a train down. I mean, every freaking, half these groups I've never heard of, and he still knows. He's like my conduit to that world of like, okay, where's he going now? And who's this band? And who did he buy a ticket for? And so that's really cool. And so with the song, I keep want to call it Big Big Love for some reason. I don't know why. I guess
Big Big Love. Awesome.
Bit rate love. And you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but when I first heard that song, it reminds me of like an influence of dream pop in that song. Is that kind of a part of what was, the end goal of how this song was going to come across?
Yeah, I would say 2 LOVExSTEREO songs in particular influenced it, because the way I work with X-RL7 is when I put together the initial demo, I try to write to what I love about the artist and what I want to capture. And there was a couple of songs that were in my mind. One of them was a song called 01, which is very chilled, like super minimalist. It's a really cool song. It's all about the voice and the ambience, and also lucid, which I mentioned before.
Yeah,
lucid dreams. Sorry.
No worries.
Lucid dreams. Because that's just that's got a little bit more tempo to it, but it's just this huge chorus, a lot of emotion. So I was thinking, I really want to capture those elements of the band and kind of X-RL7-nize them. And so that was kind of in my mind. And then a weird influence, it was sort of dream pop and synthwave and stuff like that. But a weird influence as well was, did you guys ever catch the last season of Twin Peaks, season 3?
Well, I didn't watch that show. Sorry.
Okay. There's basically they have a venue called the Roadhouse in the last season, and they have different bands on, real life bands. So they'd have 9 Inch Nails and other artists, but they'll do it. It was mostly really atmospheric songs, like really dripped in reverb, and that's my memory of it. It could have been distorted over the years, but I remember you'd see this band on stage and they would hold out notes and you just get all the atmosphere and delay. So that was kind of in my mind, this image for the chorus. And also The Cure, it's funny because the synth part, I kind of started on a guitar, and it was very a Cure-ish sort of guitar part. But when you put it on synth, it's got a different vibe to it. So those were the initial influences, very much thinking of Annie's voice. And I'm so fortunate that you guys actually liked the song. And we got a big name mixer involved thanks to Annie's connection.
Yeah, we are mixing engineer, and also he did the Dolby Atmos. His name is Adrian Hall, and he actually lives in the UK. And also, we've worked with him since 2015. He came to Korea, and we were sort of like in a competition, because there was like this company named KTNG. They were accepting applications from indie artists, and saying that there's UK engineers coming, so he would choose who he wants to work with, and he picked us. So that's the reason why we worked with him. But it was kind of life-changing for us, because before, when we were doing, we did music our whole lives, but like we had such a big wall in terms of like sound making, because we had this idea, but it was never fulfilled ever in our world. But once we met, people like Adrian Hall or some other producers that we met along the way, who were all foreigners, in like non-Koreans, they kind of like widen our view and made us believe that this is possible. And actually we kind of cried when we first heard him mixing our song. The first song was Deadbeat Generation. He was like mixing on the spot, and we were just like crying, and so we have such good chemistry, and I kind of suggested, Mike, why don't you work with him? And they actually met up in UK, and and also like our mastering engineer, he's also a very well-known engineer. His name is Andy Hippie Baldwin. He works at Metropolis, and for some reason we know the UK guys, and yeah, the South Koreans know the UK guys, and so we kind of introduced, and I think it all turned out really, really well. Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing about Adrian as well, which blew my mind, is he's one of those mixers where he mixes it, as you say, in one day, in one session.
Oh yeah.
And when you told me about that, I was a little bit skeptical, because I've never worked with a mixer who's usually they take a few days and it's nearly ready, and then they send it to you. So I was like, one day, yeah. But no, he just nailed it. When you get the big boys, know what they're doing.
Wow, that's it's amazing. That's another example, like Annie's saying, that her contacts for her band, two of them were in the UK. I mean, what are the odds of that? But in this particular project, it all worked out. And Mike, you were mentioning about the third season of Twin Peaks. I didn't watch the show, but I'm very familiar with it, since most of it was shot here in Seattle. And I was just
really?
Yeah, I was just near Tweed's Cafe last week. In North Bend, so that's where the cherry pie and the coffee and that whole thing, they were shooting inside that diner. Is still here. And that's definitely their claim to fame. They have stuff on the walls from the show, and fans that come from all over the world definitely want to have cherry pie in that place.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah, that's still here. And it's about maybe 45 minutes from where I live right now, so it's not long to get there.
Wow.
So,
coffee and cherry pie.
Yeah. So if you're ever here in Seattle, I can point you in the direction, or I can take you there. I mean, myself. So you can you can live that whole Twin Peaks experience, because a lot of people do it. It's either that or go out to the coast and visit Twilight, where that was filmed.
Twilight. Okay, I'll watch Twin Peaks now.
Then I was going to mention the people that are watching again, and if you're in the chat on YouTube or Twitch, go ahead and throw a question if you have it for Annie or Mike in the chat on either channel, and I'll incorporate it. So I see a lot of people. I think a lot of people are just listening right now. They're not engaged in the chat part so much. But again, if you are and you want to ask it, this is the time to do it, because we're already past the halfway point. So I'm kind of curious too. So Mike, you just brought this out, and maybe you can kind of help catch me up and some other people up to speed. What else have you been working on? Because I know, with your own music and things, you're kind of in not a pause when we last talked, but you're kind of in the midst of working on different things. But you didn't have anything that I remember strongly you were pushing out there. So where are you now with your music?
It's mainly X-RL7, to be honest. That's my main thing. Although I did have a bit of a gap this month a little bit to work on my previous band, Mixy One. So I've been doing a little bit of stuff with that. And there is another project with the guy who voiced 3 people in the episode, the fan, the Lisa fan, that guy. He me and him have got a project as well that we're looking to come out soon. He's working on a video, but really X-RL7 is my main thing, because I tell you what, animation just takes so much time, so I don't have a whole lot of bandwidth for too many other things, because you've got music, animation, chasing voice actors, editing voice acting. So yeah, that's me really, X-RL7.
Okay, and then Annie, what are the latest things going on with LOVExSTEREO?
Right now we are making our like full length, like preparing to make our full length album. That's the thing. We wanted to release it probably end of this year, but I don't think that's possible. So probably it's gonna go to next year. But right now we are making a lot of songs and like having concepts. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting because like this is the very first time, like I think I can say this, like a very first time we're gonna write Korean lyrics properly. Like this is we've never done that because like a lot of our music is mostly written in English, and it's a challenge, but LOVExSTEREO started in 2011, and everybody keeps asking us, like, aren't you going to write any Korean lyrics? So there are some Korean lyrics songs from us, but like this is like the very first time we're going to put a lot of Korean lyrics in our songs for the very first time. So I'm kind of, we're like, what do you call it? Making songs all the time, just trying to bring ideas and, make it shine. So like that's right, our main thing right now. And also September we have a show at MUCON, which is like a Korean government funded conference type festival. So that's that. And yeah, pretty busy, I guess.
Okay.
Play Bitrate Love.
I'll try my best.
No pressure.
And I see Roz has a question for Annie. I'll put it on the screen here.
Oh, favorite song. I think I really like. I don't particularly have a favorite song, but like the style, like I said before, like it was very rock. I don't think we have these days, especially like I think rock is kind of dying fast, and to listen to those rock musics, made me happy, like because I used to love rock before, and I'm like such a 90s girl, so I love all the rock bands from the 90s. Like our favorite is Smashing Pumpkins, which like, I have a charm here, if you can see.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, like that, like Pearl Jam, Nirvana, those bands are my jam. So like, to listen to those songs like brings me back, and I enjoyed a lot.
Very cool. Ross, thank you for the question. Again, if you have other questions out there that are watching, put them into either the YouTube or the Twitch channel. And yeah, so Annie, if you like, not obviously liking Nirvana and Pearl Jam and things of that nature, and I live here in Seattle, so I've told the story before that I had a really good friend that I've known since 6th grade. He was way into grunge before it exploded all over the world. So he was like, Mark, you got to come to see this club show. Go to this club show. And for whatever reason, I was just kind of like not into it. Not so much about the music. I just didn't want to go out to concerts maybe in general at the time. But he's in like the Alive video. He's in the Even Flow video. He's in. He's like, you could have been there too. You could have been there too.
Damn.
I was like, yeah, I know. And I'm still friends with him. He actually comes into the chat sometimes in my life, and he lives down in Houston, and he loves to rub that in my face. that I missed out on all those early bands. But the only caveat that I had is he finally twisted my arm to see this. They had a music series called Catch a Rising Star. So it was like these up and coming bands, and it was like, I think maybe $10 at the time. And so I said, okay, I'll go see this lineup. And I don't know who these bands are. And the opener was Mother Love Bone, which became Pearl Jam. The special guest was Soundgarden, and then the headliner was Jane's Addiction.
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus, dude.
Jesus.
And I saw it in this beautiful theater here that holds about 2,000 people. I didn't know who any of these bands were, but I liked the show once I was done. I was like, hey, that was pretty good. And he was just like, you're such an idiot.
Oh,
These bands are going somewhere.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I will never forget them. I'm so glad at least I went to one of these shows and got to see these bands when they're just on the up and up. I mean, Louder Than Love, it was the album released for Louder Than Love. That's what I remember Chris Cornell talking about from the stage. Like, we have an album out now and all this kind of stuff.
wow.
Okay, that's cool.
Like one of my favorite bands was Pearl Jam, and I always I will tell my friends like, why aren't they coming to Korea like ever? And everybody's like, they're never gonna come. Like, I'm still having that hope one day they'll come.
Well, I'm kind of, I'm not in that boat, but I was in a boat where I just never got a chance to see them. I've liked the band, but I'm not like an uber fan of Pearl Jam. But then this past May, when they did their two shows here in Seattle for the new tour, I finally said, okay, everything's kind of lining up. I have the money, the venue's great, all this kind of stuff. I need to go. So I went. So it's the first time I ever saw them ever, other than the pre-Pearl Jam version I saw way back in the day. And granted, I'm not seeing them maybe at their peak or whatever, but I totally understand why people like that band when they see them live. It's transcendent almost to, you just kind of get, and I'm not, you got people that know every single song, every single B-side, all that kind of thing. I'm not one of those people, but even for me, I'm like, damn, these guys, they're in the pocket from the first song. I mean, and they just played for like at least 2.5 hours. My understanding is actually short for them. Back in the day, they used to play like 3 hours, like Springsteen sets. But it was just a really great vibe in there of, sold out show, and Eddie's talking to the crowd, and just kind of, plus their hometown for us being Seattle based. So there's something extra special there. So lots of other musicians were there and other like celebrity types and that kind of thing. But just from the band on the stage, just nonchalantly walking on and just launching into the first song, and made me want to go see the second night. It was so good.
You live in a great country.
Well, I hope at some point they make it over to Korea so you get a chance to experience them there.
One day.
one day. There we go.
One day.
And let's see if anything else came through. Okay, just people kind of making general comments. So you mentioned that you have this like music conference that's coming up in September, Annie. And so I'm not familiar with the indie scene, especially for Korea. Is there like a thriving big indie music scene in Korea? Is it kind of struggling? What's it at now in 2024?
Well, indie scene has been struggling forever, and well, even though like there are cool bands out there, but there's really not much of a longevity, because a lot of bands keep breaking up. They make again and then breaking up. So there are some cool bands happening, but indie scene has been struggling for a while. But I can mention that, because like here in South Korea, K-pop is so huge. So I'd say like Sony, Universal, and Warner, they are the major big three, right? But in the world, I guess, but in Korea, they're only like 15%. They're very much struggling. And the others is like, because those are the big major three. So like technically K-pop is still considered independent, which is crazy. It blows my mind. So K-pop is like, I'd say K-pop, Warner, Sony, Universal, and like some hip hop artists, maybe like 98% is that, and like 2% is indie. So we actually have to, like, on the charts, we have to fight with K-pop acts, which doesn't make any sense to me. And yeah, so like but like Korea is kind of a weird country that once you get a hype, then you can go straight to the top really fast. It's a very fast country, and like people like what people like, you know what I mean? So like for us, like I think like LOVExSTEREO, and we're doing our personal projects as well. Like I'm trying to do my solo stuff like next year and stuff like that. But it's almost like you're gonna lose anyway, but you're still gonna try. You know what I mean? Like I think like like our like songs have been placed in some of the K dramas, like Exo Kitty. Last year was Exo Kitty. That was huge. Which because it was Netflix USA, not Netflix Korea. And those kind of opportunities come and go. And like we are doing our best, but you never know. Like it's really hard.
Wow, that's I guess, and Mike, you could probably speak to your scene over there in the UK, but at least over here in America, especially in the Seattle area, with independent bands, it seems like it's gotten tougher for that, especially post-pandemic. Everybody came out of the chute. Everyone's trying to get on tour. Everyone's trying to get new music, new things, new streams going, and there wasn't room for the small guy. And the middle seems to be kind of disappearing. You're either way up here or you're like down here. And if you're trying to get to this middle, that doesn't really exist anymore. It's from cost of touring, the whole thing about the 20% of merch cuts, and they're not doing a damn thing for the artists. That's a huge reality here in Seattle for most of the clubs. And so it's like, yeah, you're passionate about what you're doing, and I think every band is, when that's why they're doing the music that they do and they're out there on the road. But man, you need some help along the way. You can't just keep grinding and grinding, and not making money or not making enough money and trying to have like a day job, and you have other responsibilities if you have a partner or if you have kids or all these other kind of things. It's really kind of sad to see that there's not more support for those. And like I mentioned to you guys that, we got so many K-pop artists coming to just Seattle. It's kind of insane to me. And I'm kind of curious about them, but I'm not,
Well, I can say that K-pop is looking towards the international world mainly because of money. Because not that I'm degrading K-pop, but K-pop itself in Korea is already competitive, and like the world is such a bigger market, so why wouldn't they go? And K-pop is based on fandom, so if you have enough fandom, their choice is like logical to go, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's just interesting to me that we would see like really big acts come to like the Tacoma Dome, which holds 20,000 people. But then on the theater level or the club level, we weren't seeing anybody. But then this year alone, it's just like one after the next. So I must have got good to some management companies, some record companies saying, we need to exploit this market because it's there. The fans are there. The money's there. So let's keep sending them.
Yeah, I think the international music world was like, I think before Psy, I guess, like didn't understand the K-pop industry at all because they didn't understand the fandom. But I think now that they're seeing that they don't need to do the radio tour, like scheduled radio tour, like they don't need to do the broadcast tour, like they can just skip and do what they want to do. So it makes more sense to me, I guess. And not only that, they can sell a lot of merch. And like CDs, even though people might not listen to it, like CDs are very much like considered as a very valuable merch. And when you buy CDs, they're very, very smart too. Like they would, it's like almost like a raffle. Like they would have like 7 members and you don't know which one you're going to pick. So they keep buying more. So it makes sense. Like it's just business,
Yeah, no, those are some really good points. The whole fandom of how it works there. And then the fans that are already here in the US, they already know that. It's just like you said. I mean, there was one band that has 5 members, and then you're trying to get all 5, postcards in the new CD release. So that they keep trying to buy them. It's just like collecting baseball cards or something. Oh, I don't have these players. True. You keep buying more and more. I think on the flip side, at least here in America too, is that there's also backlash against that type of thing because it feels like nothing but a sellout.
True. There are some labels who try not to do those things. Like I see those, like, they don't want to exploit their fans. So like some of the labels definitely are not doing that. But I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I was going to say, I watched the Blackpink documentary, which I think we're rocking here, Blackpink. And it seems really like hardcore there, like because a lot of the people, like at least judging by that documentary in that record industry, there's a lot of people that just there for years training and then just don't get anywhere. And it's like years before they even get on stage in one of the groups. It seems like behind the scenes, it's really a dog eat dog tricky thing to get into.
Yeah, it's a survival game for sure. And it's also, I guess, like looks matter very much as well. So you can actually, if your looks are so good, then I guess you can skip a lot of those. So it's not it's a very tricky thing because like you are in your younger age, like you're like in your teenage years or even like children too. Like they would try to be trainees to um just want to be in a band, girl band or boy band, and then they can debut. And so it's definitely that it works that way, I guess.
Yeah, and Mike, I saw that same documentary as well, and it's really fascinating that they would even allow cameras back there to film that, to show that kind of thing, of like how tough it was and what the trainings were going through. And it's like, yeah, and even for me on the media side here in America, when I've had bands, not just from Korea, but I would say from many Asian countries, including Japan, and rightfully so, they are really, really particular about who they approve, what you can do, what you're doing. There is one band actually from Korea, I'm going to butcher their name, but it was like Hyuka, like an indie rock band, Hyukoh, I think.
Hyogo.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Hyogo is huge.
I got to shoot them when they were here, and I was one of two people approved. All of their people had black on, headsets, the whole 9 yards, which I have not seen in a pit ever over here. And then the people came and introduced themselves to me, make sure that I knew exactly what I could do, what I couldn't do. If I had any questions, they're extremely professional, but also very demanding too. So, but I appreciate that. At least I knew exactly where I stood with things, because they're trying to make sure that they have complete control over what gets out, what doesn't, and making sure their artists look as good as possible. But it was eye-opening to me and the other American.
Yeah, I mean, Hyogo is one of those bands like hit the jackpot here. They were kind of like they were hyping up for sure in the indie scene, but like what they participated in Infinity Challenge, which is like a huge TV program at that time, and that's the reason why they kind of skyrocketed. So they are the very few bands that actually can compete with K-pop, actually better than K-pop groups sometimes. You can consider that. Yeah, they when they blew up, I heard a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, but the copyright revenue of that year alone, they were the top. So
Wow.
yeah, they're very influential.
Wow. Okay. Well, I feel that much more, grateful that I got to shoot them and review them when they're
very,
here.
very, very cool people. I met them before. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they're a great live. I really enjoyed their show.
Yeah.
So did the audience. They over here, they played at a place that holds like just about 1,000 people. So very small and intimate, but yeah, it's great. And Mike, I wanted to kind of go back up to you about the music scene currently over there for indie stuff in the UK that you're aware of.
I'm not as attached as I used to be, but and to be honest, loads of the artists in the show are American, so I'm not as connected as I should be. But there's definitely a rock scene. There's definitely an alternative scene. There's still gigs around. It's a bit more diverse. It's not just pop. And that was interesting what you said, Annie, about Korea being so K-popped, like so taken over by K-pop. Because I was concerned that might be a stereotype, just to bring that up. Like if when you bring up to a British person, like, oh yeah, Britpop or something like that, it's like I didn't realize it was literally a really big thing there.
Oh, but I don't mind though. Like I think it's nice that people now know South Korea as it is, because like before it was like, oh, are you from North Korea? Like even I went to Wales.
At the Olympics.
Like sure, yeah, the Olympics as well. I went to Wales to do a festival, and like the taxi drivers kept asking me if I came from North Korea. I'm like, oh, dude, So they're diplomats in a way.
Gosh.
Okay. Oh, I see. There's actually a question for me. Graham, you're asking about who was a band you look back on and say, wow, I wasn't expecting them to skyrocket. Back in the day, so I can make this as quick as I can. The first concert I ever went to was Kiss when I was 9 years old. So I've been going to concerts most of my life. So, but a band that I saw that I was surprised how much they skyrocketed. Oh,
So was it early years of Kiss?
it was I saw the original lineup right before Peter left. So this would have been 1979 on the Dynasty tour when they're in their disco phase.
Wow.
But I did see that. And then the next band after that was AC/DC.
Damn.
Yeah, I go that far back. But I guess one band that I would say, I don't think I was shocked by it, but maybe how quickly they ascended here in America was Iron Maiden, because I saw them as a special guest. They weren't even headlining in 1982. And then the next time they came here, they're on a headlining tour and they've never stopped. It's just like that's been going on for decades now. But in terms of smaller bands, I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody that just, went through the roof, and I kind of, got in on the ground floor. Even Metallica, I was listening to back when their first album came out, and I didn't really know what this music was. I liked Motorhead at the time, so I was like, well, this kind of sounds like Motorhead, but it kind of doesn't. And then Ride the Lightning came out, and it was kind of all over after that, and I became a huge fan of those guys.
I think I watched Motorhead's last show because they were in Korea, and then I think a few months later, Lemmy died.
Oh wow!
Wow. Yeah, so I felt very lucky because even they stopped by our small country and they just rocked the hell out of it. It was amazing. Yeah,
that's a good catch.
Yeah, and I never did get a chance to see them. But there's 2 different times they were coming to Seattle, and I was ready to go, and then they ended up canceling both times. Once because they got stuck up at the border in Canada, and then the other time I can't remember what the issue was, but they never made it here. But they were reportedly one of the loudest bands live. And
that's so true.
11.
So that's awesome that you got to see them. And I see Roz says, maybe it's Roz. Another question here from Mike.
How many episodes are you working on at the minute? Quite honestly, 1. Usually I have a few going on at the same time, but at the moment there's 1 I'm focused on with quite a few people involved. And in future episodes, I've got a few things in the back of my mind. The song is out. It involves our friends Alice, Mark. So we'll see how that goes. And in future episodes, if you guys ever want to do some more voices again, that'd be really cool.
Oh, I'd love to do that.
Yeah,
sweet.
Anytime, I'm totally game. And if you want some cheesy ass accent, like a cowboy or something, I'm game for doing that.
Yeehaw.
Anytime you want that kind of accent, I can try to bust it out for you.
Should make it real,
So that's great that everything's out, and it was such a pleasure talking to both of you, and Annie for meeting you for the first time, and Mike seeing you again. And again, people in the chat, thank you for joining us, and make sure you check out both X-RL7 and LOVExSTEREO. Go watch the episode if you haven't. And we've kind of already talked about what's coming up for everybody. So it's really about go watch that episode and spread it out and check out the song as well, and make sure everybody knows, because the more it gets out there, and for independent people, all 3 of us, we all know how that works. I mean, social media has been a huge blessing in that sense, that we need help getting things out. We don't have that big machine behind us pushing it out. And any help that you can do is great. And then let's see here. I see another question came in.
Can people on the X-RL7 Patreon lend their voices? We'll discuss that, Raz. Possibly in the future.
So there you go. And that actually brings up a good question, though, about with your Patreon, Mike, is that something you're always a part of, like new updates every week kind of a thing, or what's the latest with your Patreon?
Yeah, there's an X-RL7 Patreon, which has some a whole bunch of behind the scenes. It's my sales pitch voice now. so much behind the scenes, early access and exclusive music and versions of the songs you may not have heard, like instrumentals and remixes and things like that. There's lots of cool stuff there. Recently, I've started putting out some more unreleased stuff because it's bizarre. Since I've been working on this since 2020, I didn't realize how many things fell through. And how, there's songs I've written for artists that it's not not turned up. So there's some cool stuff there. It really helps, especially with mixing costs, for any support there. We also have a Discord, which has some really awesome fan art at the moment. So feel free to join that. There's a link on the X-RL7 page. And yeah, just check out X-RL7 and LOVExSTEREO.
Yeah, I was going to mention. So, Annie, anything else you'd like to plug about LOVExSTEREO or other things outside of it?
Well, our music video that Mike made in a beautiful music video. Check that out, and also the episode for sure. And we do Instagram, and we're not so much active on TikTok yet, but while we're gonna prepare our new album next year, we're gonna. Because TikTok is a little daunting to me because I don't know, like it's like too fast, I guess. But I will do my best to try to focus more on TikTok as well. So if you can follow us on Spotify, TikTok, or Instagram, that'll be a huge help.
Okay, and I can tell you, Annie, I'm kind of right there with you when it comes to TikTok. I've tried it twice, and I'm just like. I feel like I'm gonna go into this deep end that I can't get out of if I start posting.
I'm like the opposite. Like I feel very, I don't know. I feel very not attached to it. Like I don't know what is this, Yeah. So like I'm not going down the rabbit hole, but that's probably my problem. Because I'm so
That
not
said,
into,
you're very good at social media, because social media is tricky, man, because it's like, what do you post? What do you post?
I know.
And you're very good at finding stuff to post.
But it's hard because I wasn't programmed that way. Like I love the mystery. Like I love bands. Like I said, I love bands in the 90s, and I like that I don't know about them, And it's kind of challenging, especially my generation. We released an album called Zennials in 2021. And Zennials means like in between millennials and Generation X. So we're in that small group of people who used PDA and beepers and stuff like that. So like I'm very much confused in the social media world. I'm not natural. So I will try my best to figure out a way to, I don't know, blow up maybe later. So we'll see.
Well, I know for myself when I first started looking at it. So I am kind of similar to you. It seems so bizarre to me that I'm like, what am I supposed to do with my stuff on here? And what am I supposed to do? What's getting engagement and all that kind of thing? And it just seemed like such a huge task that I'm like, I'm already on these other things. I don't need this other thing as well on my plate. And I realize that's probably hurting me because everyone loves to look at those things. I know it gets a lot of traction, especially for younger demographic, which is not my demographic right now. But I'm like, I'm making a deliberate decision. I understand what this could do for me, but I'm not going to go there just yet. I do have an account, but I don't sit there and look through other people's. Yeah, there's not enough time today. There's other things I could be doing right now. And
yeah, I'm gonna try to figure it out one day. Because it seems a lot of fun, like I feel like I'm missing out a little because I used to be kind of negative, but like I should be positive. So
there we go. Well, again, Mike and Annie, thank you so much. Everybody that's in the chat, thank you. And again, check out the episode. Check out both X-RL7, LOVExSTEREO, Eclectic Arts Media. That's me. And maybe we'll get a chance to come together and talk about what's going on in the present, X amount of months from now. Or if you have something to promote, you know how to get a hold of me. I love having people come back on. So and if you don't have something to promote, that's okay too. I had some people like, I'd like to talk to you again, Mark. Like, okay, this is kind of and we'll figure it out because I can ramble as much as I need to. All right.
That's awesome, Mark. Thanks.
So cool.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night or good morning or get to sleep if you're supposed to be sleeping right now. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
감사합니다. Bye.
Bye.